Zelda games have some of the coolest secrets in them. For example, if this was a Zelda game, then this wouldn't just be a regular old door, it'd be like a secret portal to the Dark World or something crazy like that. But unfortunately, since this is reality, this door is just a plain old closet. However, we can at least talk about my favorite Zelda secrets and Easter eggs. You know the ones. Secrets like how you can repair signs by playing your instrument, or how the Rito Postman from Wind Waker is a reference to the mailman from Majora's Mask. Or even the secret R-Wing from Star Fox still in the code from Ocarina of Time. But even though all those ones are great, I want to talk about my favorite ones throughout all 3D Zelda games. So basically, we're gonna go through every 3D Zelda game here, talk about some secrets I like, and then reveal my favorite secret or Easter egg from that game. And obviously, the game we're gonna start off with is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. And even with this game being the first ever 3D Zelda game, they still packed this game full of secrets. However, with this game in particular, a lot of these may be more well-known than other games, and this is just because, I swear, Ocarina of Time is literally the most talked about video game on the internet. People really don't shut up about this game, but because of that, a lot of these might be more well-known. Still though, I do like all the windows in Zelda's courtyard where you can see all the Mario pictures, or the other one where the guy tries to bomb you. And then there's the secret way you can spawn fairies in this game. This is done by having a butterfly land precisely on the tip of your wooden stick, which will transform it into a fairy, so that's a handy one. And then there's this more useless one, but still kinda cool, where the Gerudo commander will actually change the colors of her dress and lipstick immediately to match the color of yours. Now that I think of it, this one might actually be a glitch, but I don't know, I found it cool. And those are great and all, but the funniest one for me is the fishing minigame Easter egg. Well, it more specifically has to do with the fisherman who runs the game. Normally, he just rents you fishing gear and such, but if you cast your line at him instead of the pond, you just get to take off his hat. He even gets mad at you for it. Well, I mean, you can't really blame him, because by taking it off, you realize he's actually balding. Which was probably the reason why he wore the hat. So if you want to be more of a jerk to him, you can even then fish with it and lose it in the water. He'll then charge you 50 rupees for it, but he'll actually be stuck without a hat forever. Seriously, you legit lost his hat. In the end credits now, when everyone else is celebrating, normally he's just there doing the same, but now he's still there, but without a hat this time. That's so funny Nintendo included that small detail. You exposed a man's insecurities for a cheap laugh. And it was worth it. But if you want to talk secrets in Zelda games, then we gotta talk about Majora's Mask. I swear half of this game is a secret as to what it all means. Like, where is Termina? What's the deal with that warp tunnel? And who is the Happy Mask salesman? But before this turns into a whole game theory episode, let's talk about some more gameplay-oriented secrets first. Right outside Clocktown, you'll see this bird thing flying around. Well, at least I think it's supposed to be a bird, and if you play any dungeon song by it, it'll continue to drop rupees for you to follow and collect. That's kinda cool. Or there's another small secret detail in the Zora Cave here. Each of these different band members will actually play a different song from the Zelda series, so that's a really great detail to include. However, my favorite secret addition in this game is in the graveyard part, and it has to do with this guy, Dampé, the Gravekeeper. And ironically enough, even with his profession he's got going, he's afraid of the undead and skeletons. No, I'm serious, look. You see this guy hide under his bed sometimes, and he always locks himself in his hut when the dead come out. So, what happens when you talk to him when wearing a skull mask? Well, he then mistakes you for one of the undead, which causes a reaction from him where he runs all around the graveyard for a bit, and then locks himself in his hut, in which he doesn't leave. I love this little detail in the game. It really shows what Majora's Mask is all about. The characters. And this small interaction just shows you more about this guy in a really unexpected and even a pretty funny way. It makes you think, you know? Dampé is not such a scary guy, willing to do anything to provide for his wife and kids or whatever the Dampé family consists of. Or maybe I'm just looking too much into this, but still, I love this little detail. But now let's move on to the Wind Waker, a game that probably had the most drastic changes to the Zelda series when it came out, because now there's water everywhere, and you have a boat too, so this might be the closest thing we'll see to a Zelda pirate game. As for the hidden details this time, I gotta say, I love the Pikmin reference in this game. You know, each of those goddess statues that hold a different orb? Well, they actually reference the 3 types of Pikmin, since each of them either has a nose, mouth, or ears, just like the red, blue, and yellow Pikmin. Plus, the orbs that they hold match those colors. Well, almost. We got green instead of yellow for this one, but I guess the color green is like half a yellow anyways, so we take those. This is something that seems so obvious when it's pointed out to you, but something that is easily overlooked. And then during the Triforce quest, if you slightly miss the spot where a treasure chest is, then you'll pick up a random old pot that is only ever seen here. And then a secret octopus will spawn that will try and attack you for it. And those are all great, but I really like the secret that is found in the training area with Orca way back on Outset Island. Basically, this is a minigame that rewards you with various prizes for hitting this guy a certain amount of times without being hit yourself. You can win different amounts of rupees, but the main prize is a heart piece, which you get at 500 hits. But you can actually keep on hitting him even after that number. And if you keep on going, and going, and a bit more, and even more than that. Okay, you literally have to max out the counter to 999 hits, but when you finally do so, he will stop and tell you this secret dialogue. He'll say that his arm now feels numb and questions whether your index finger is numb also. And this is pretty funny because you'll have to hold down the left trigger this entire time, which is the finger that he's talking about since you have to use it to target him. So this is just a funny way of breaking the fourth wall if you go through all the trouble of hitting him this many times. And that's pretty much this secret. You may think this is so much work just to get this secret line of dialogue, and yeah, it kind of is, which is why I just grabbed the footage from some guy on YouTube. So thanks, guy. And there you have it. Okay, next Zelda game, let's move on. And the next one is, yes, Twilight Princess. I love the world in this game, and there's so many secret areas that you can find in it. Even one of the very last areas that you'll discover on your adventure here is called Hidden Village, in fact. And while the town itself isn't really a secret, this one billboard in the town is. It has some text in Hylian, but if you translate it, then it actually reads, "Welcome to Old Kakariko," which suggests that this place is the original Kakariko village from Ocarina of Time. That's pretty cool. And then another more minor secret that just cracks me up is when you go in the bomb shop. You'll see a bunch of signs there that specifically say not to bring flames, since it's, well, a bomb shop. So if you're like me, then you'll immediately pull out your flammable lantern. This then prompts a very quick reaction from the owner to dump water on you that also misses the lantern, but still puts it out. So that's just a funny minor detail. But before we get on to my favorite secret, if you made it this far in the video, it would be great if you guys gave it a like, as it helps the video out a lot. Thanks. Okay, now, to understand my favorite secret here, you're gonna need a bit of a history lesson about Zelda games and these chickens. Cuckoos, as they're called in the Zelda series, but I'm just gonna call them chickens. They first appeared in Link to the Past and then appeared in almost every single Zelda game after. But in all those games, when you attack them enough times, they all would get pissed and summon the whole chicken horde after you, which is just an unpleasant experience. So by the time Twilight Princess rolled around, people had it drilled into their heads not to attack the chickens. But if you try anyways in Twilight Princess, then you actually start controlling the chicken this time. Yes, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. It's just so random and kind of fun to be able to play as the infamous killer chickens from all these games. There's even a little funny jump animation. I mean, you can't really go too far with him before you have to control Link again, but this is such a random inclusion. Geez, this game's all about animals, eh? There's literally so many of them, you can talk to them, pick them up, and of course you play as a wolf. And chicken, apparently. Okay, but enough of that, because we're moving on to The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. A game that I've had my differences with, but in terms of secrets, it has a lot of them. Hell, one of the most famous secrets in this game is simply from its main theme, Ballad of the Goddess. While being a great theme in general, if you reverse it, then it actually sounds like Zelda's Lullaby, which is a reoccurring song in the Zelda series. There's another cool detail in this game that I almost picked as my favorite secret this time, and this is if you go back to the lowest level of the sealed grounds, then you'll find the pictures from the intro cutscenes of this game, so that's really interesting that they included that. But the one I decided to go with was something that I didn't realize for a while, but it was staring me right in the face. Near Skyloft, you can go to this place called the Lumpy Pumpkin, which is a bar that's all about pumpkins. Sure. But you know, this bar is starting to feel familiar. Too familiar. And then it hit me. Because in Twilight Princess, there was also a bar called, well, it's just called Telma's Bar, but the members in the Lumpy Pumpkin Bar from Skyward Sword are all actually a reference to the Resistance members that were in Telma's Bar from Twilight Princess. We got Pum, the bartender, that has a similar attire and most noticeably hairstyle to Telma, plus they're both bartenders. Then his daughter Kina, that looks like Ashy, with the same weird middle hair part here, and with the two ponytails, or whatever you call them, on either side, and just the same hair color overall. Then there's Skeet, who looks like Shad. This is probably the least similarities here, just because they're the most basic design, but the hairstyle and lack of facial hair are all the same. And then Rusta looks a lot like Eru, with the gray beard and spiked up pointed hairstyle, making them both kinda look like gnomes. And that's really it. I found this to be a small, interesting detail. And now we come to our most current 3D Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. A game that is really hard to choose because it is absolutely littered with secrets in the world. So much so that people are still uploading clickbaity videos like, "Secrets you missed in Breath of the Wild." You know the videos I'm talking about. So we got our hands full with this last game here. Everything's a secret with this one. You know when you place a marker, all that random text floating out of it? Well, it turns out it's not actually random text at all, because when translated, it actually reads, "It's dangerous to go alone," which is a reference to the text that the old man says in the very first Zelda game. And then there's literally a bunch of hidden songs that play in various spots in the world, if you listen close enough. These are all notes from classic Zelda songs, like Dragon Roost Island when you're in Rito Village, or Epona's song when you stand right by this bird playing the accordion. But honestly, this next secret here is such a great detail that they included. Along your travels, you'll run into this character called Botrick at one point, and he tells you about something called the Lord of a Mountain that appears on Satori Mountain. And if you check it out, most of the time, it'll just look like a normal mountain with, say, a pretty interesting looking spring. But if you visit there on certain nights, then you'll see a bunch of beautiful creatures that don't appear anywhere else in the game that'll scatter if you get too close. However, if you sneak up on the biggest creature there, then you'll actually mount him and ride him. This is the Lord of the Mountain. He has the best stats out of any horse and has virtually infinite stamina. You can ride him wherever you want, but he'll disappear shortly when you dismount him. And this would be a great little secret already, but what it references makes it even better. The Lord of the Mountain is most likely a tribute to Satoru Iwata. He was the president of Nintendo for a while, and unfortunately died in 2015 while Breath of the Wild was under development. And you can see that in his bio, his other name is called Satori, very similar to Satoru Iwata. And his character description is kinda how a president would act at a company, by watching over everyone. And then you compare Botrick, the guy who told you about the mountain, and he has a striking resemblance to the former Nintendo president. This is just a very nice thing that the developers included into their game, honoring their former boss. And this makes it easily my favorite secret in Breath of the Wild.